So welcome back to Yerushalmi Shabbos. We are Perish and Alachai, which is in the New Start pages, Daf Yud Daled. Okay, we're bringing Machlekes Beishama Beis Hillel. Is one allowed to start a job on Erev Shabbos, which will finish of its own accord on Shabbos? So, starting a malacha before Shabbos, but it's going to carry on. Beishami Ebrim. Beishama say, Ein Shayr in Diyai. Now, you mustn't start soaking the ink. It's all the dyes that you're soaking together to make ink for writing purposes. Or samamonin, other types of spices to make a dye. And kalshinin, do not soak the vetch in the water to make animal food. So you don't want it to start on the Friday to carry on working on Shabbos. You need the soaking to finish before Shabbos comes in. That is the view of Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel matirin. Beis Hillel allow you to soak on Erev Shabbos, even if it won't finish before Shabbos, but it will be completed on Shabbos. Okay? Even there's not going to be finished, not a problem. You're allowed to do things before Shabbos, and even though they will carry on. Okay. Beis Shammai Obrim. What is the source for Beis Shammai? Matamanda Beis Shammai. What's the reason for Beis Shammai? The pasuk says, we've got a brisa. 6 days you shall work. Notice it says 6 days you shall work, but not 2 days for weekend. It says 6 days you shall work. But Aziz Kol Haloshon, when you do all your work, Kol Haloshon, all your work, you should be finishing it before Shabbos comes in. So they're learning Kol as if it's completed. Amar Tamar de Beis Hillel. Why would Beis Hillel allow it? It says 6 days you do your work. Notice it says 6 days and not 5. And on the 7th day, it sounds like the Torah is allowing a certain type of malacha on the 7th day. What is that? Something that started beforehand and carried on. Now the psukim we brought from Beis Shammai, the source for Beis Hillel, seem to contradict. Mama came Beis Hillel Tamar de Beis Shammai. What did Beis Hillel do with Beis Shammai's reason? Pasuk. That's malachas doing with your hand. Whatever you do with your hand, you have to finish it before Shabbos comes in. Mama came Beis Shammai Tamar de Beis Hillel. What do they do with Beis Hillel's pasuk? 6 days you do work. And on the 7th day, like we've learned, there are certain jobs you're allowed to do before Shabbos and they carry on. Even according to Beis Shammai. For example, you're allowing to open the tap, for the water to go in the garden. Erev Shabbos, the sprinkler system. And it's just going to carry on. They agree, Beis Shammai agree, you're allowed to do that. Nice in Kiluris, you put some sort of bandage with dye, with cream, put it on the eye on Erev Shabbos, and it carries on healing. Nice in Ritia, you put a bandage, on a wound, and it's got various medicinal qualities. It'll carry on healing. Nice in Mavma, you can put besamim on the coals, under the clothes, to give a smell to the clothes. Erev Shabbos, they'll get a good smell from the smoke. They carry on getting smoke and improving b'Shabbos. Those in Gafris, you put burning sulfur under vessels made of silver, Erev Shabbos, in order to improve them and to make them beautiful. And it's going to carry on getting this smoke b'Shabbos. So these sort of things, Beis Shammai also agree you can start it and it carries on. But now you can't put wheat into the mill on a Friday. That has to be fully ground before Shabbos comes in.
Because you might use it on Shabbos.
Well, we'll see what the difference is. What's the difference with wheat? Because again, you're doing one process. You're putting the wheat in the container, in the mill, on Erev Shabbos. It's going to carry on grinding of its own accord. And yet Beis Shammai don't allow that. Now, what's the difference? We'll see. Harav Chagai, he says, you know what the reason is? It's a different reason. It makes a noise when it grinds, and the noise is a zilzul in covered Shabbos. Now, some learn the noise is a zilzul of Shabbos. Some learn the zilzul is because someone who hears it will think that he's adding in more wheat on Shabbos to grind it.
Is this halacha l'maaseh?
Therefore, definitely, this is where the whole thing of Ashkenaz Kol comes from.
No, but if like your dryer is still running when Shabbos comes
So
in.
Ashkenazim don't allow you to have a dryer running when Shabbos comes in. because of Hashmas Kol.
No, yeah.
But the Sfadim are more lenient in these things. Mechaber is different; it allows it. Like even according to, so basically even dishwashers, Ashkenazim don't have dishwashers going on Shabbos, even though they were set beforehand or whatever, and but washing machines, whatever. But the Sfadim are more lenient. Anyway, he says here one of the reasons is because of suspicion that you yourself added wheat on Shabbos. When there's no reason for that chashad, it comes out that there's no issur of having a thing with noise. I mean, to take it to a child's toy as well with noise, even the Sfadim are more lenient. They still say, well, don't have them have a toy, a rattle, a toy for an older kid which makes noise. Yeah. But this is the thing of Mashmir Kol. Yeah. But it's said Rabbanan, and it's the question is how far we take it. So this is the reason why Beis Shammai was strict. Now the Mechaber, the Sfadim also forbid Rechaim Shomayim, but it could be that was worse. Maybe we'll see. Amalei, now, Amalei Rabbi Yossi Yos, it's right. Rabbi Sabak Rabbi Yehuda. The Rav Chagai. Now, Rav Chagai was the one who said the problem is it makes a noise. So Yos, it would be right if Rav Chagai, if he holds Sabak Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda allows you. Now imagine you're lighting a candle where there's only a bit of oil in it. Now the rest of the oil is in another vessel and it's dripping into your ner during Shabbos. So your ner, which has got some oil, is also receiving a dripping oil from another container. Right? So now, this lighting, the oil is like connected to the two vessels. And according to Yehuda, we would not allow this according to Beis Shammai putting wheat into the mill before Shabbos, because we say the beginning of the mlach of the grinding for all the wheat that you put in the mill. And basically, why is it forbidden? Because it makes a noise. Basically, you put in all the wheat. What's the problem? I've set aside all the wheat for the mill. It can work by itself. But the problem is the noise. Fair enough. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you have to say the problem is the noise. Okay? But one minute. According to the Rabbanan, the Chachamim argue in Rabbi Yehuda. Now they say, Kamati in an Omri Taman, they say, look, don't light a ner if you don't have all the oil with it. Don't start having dripping oil from elsewhere. You cannot say that the lighting has begun with each drop of oil, which is not in the ner itself. You can't tell me that the oil in the neighboring vessel is now part of this ner and part of this oil that you set in motion when Shabbos came in. So Kain Inon Amrin Hacha, they will say the same here, that you're not allowed to put the wheat in the mill before Shabbos because you've not started the process for every single bit of wheat. Okay? Another reason why putting the wheat in the mill on a Friday is a problem. Why they can't put the wheat before midday? You might forget that it's Shabbos, but it's a chaos hayaseid, and then you'll move it around to repair it. Something might break, and then you'll make a keli and you're over on the malacha boiner. So you hear that? So he's saying actually the reason. So even if you don't hold of Hashmas Kol, of making the noise, there might be a problem with the mill because it might break and you'll come along to repair it. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I'm not sure what you're going to be doing with this Sarah on Shabbos anyway.
Well, you just want it ready for your baking on Motzi Shabbos. Yeah, why should the machine not do its job? Let it carry on working. So there we are. Now, Beis Shammai Amru Beis Hillel Davar Echad. Beis Shammai said something to Beis Hillel. Lo yachlu lashir. Beis Hillel didn't have an answer. Beis Hillel Amru Beis Shammai Davar Echad. Lo yachlu lashir. Beis Hillel couldn't answer. Amru Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. So Beis Hillel said, Ein atem moedim lanu. Now there are cases where even Beis Shammai say it's okay. Shetain karas Beis Habad. You're pressing the beam of the olive press on the olives. Uveigulei agas. And the big heavy weights of the wine press on the grapes. On a Friday, you set that in motion. Im chashecha, just before Shabbos comes in. And then the oil and the grape juice is going to be squeezed out during Shabbos. You set it in motion before, it carries on pressing, and you get the squeezing of the juice on Shabbos. And even Beis Shammai allow that. So why is that? Now, they obviously agree to this, so why did they forbid doing an action before Shabbos, like keeping the ink, the spice of the ink, when it's going to come to Melacha? Beis Shammai could not respond. Now, the truth is, Rav Zira gives the response, Look, I don't want to put my head amongst the lions. I could have given a reason. Tamon, with the olive press, all the drops of wine and oil have already come out of the fruit. Bimkoba from its place before Shabbos. So the whole malacha started before it can carry on. But by soaking the spices to produce the dyes to produce the ink, you can't say it's all done before Shabbos comes in. It's not all done. It carries on and becomes, it's only early in the stage. By soaking in water on Erev Shabbos, that's not done. The malacha is becoming on Shabbos, and therefore it's forbidden because of Beis Shammai. Now, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel davar. They said against Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel couldn't answer. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, they said, now you cannot roast meat, onions, or eggs before Shabbos unless they get to a certain level in their development in the roasting stage. Right? Now, so you can't just leave it, start it on 1% and start roasting it when Shabbos comes in. Now, just like you agree to this, that any malach which is finished on Shabbos, you shouldn't start before. They couldn't answer. If I've not put my head amongst the lions, I'll give a reason. Because basar beitza, they move around at the time of roasting. You'll turn it round, and Beis Hillel agree, if the roasting won't finish before Shabbos comes in, don't start before Shabbos. We're worried you will forget, and you'll make it turn it round to burn better, and you'll be over on the Issa Bishul. Whereas Hacha, with soaking the dyes, what are you going to tell me? I mean, the ways you soak them in one go, there's no chashash you're going to help in the process, and therefore we should allow you to do it on Friday, even if it's not going to be complete before Shabbos comes in. Okay? Now the Bavli learns the argument of Beis Shammai Beis Hillel is: are you allowed to allow your kalim to work on Shabbos? Beis Shammai says shrisas kalim is min Torah, just like your animal can't work for you, so also your kalim can't work for you. And Beis Hillel say there's no issur at all. Okay, so according to Beis Shammai, soaking the dyes with your kalim is forbidden, even if it started before Shabbos. Beis Hillel allow it. Some say Agamara fits in with the Bavli. Some say Agamara does fit in with that Bavli. Okay. Let's carry on. Now, Rav Zira explained, we forbade you to roast the meat and the onions and the eggs before Shabbos unless you've got time that they should be roasted beforehand, because we're worried you'll stoke it up. So what is the share of roasting that we're worried? Rav Yudin. Nitzlu, if it was roasted before Shabbos, Achilas ben Drusai, I remember the Achim ben Drusai, they ate it in an early stage cooking. Either Rashi said it was always a third, or the Rambam said half. So now, if you've done it the level of these highwaymen who ate food at an early stage, say 33% stage, Asru, then the Chachamim forbade you to allow it to get roasted on Shabbos. Yeah? So, if you already reached this, now the problem is, something that you'll move it around when the time of roasting, they don't allow you to allow it on Erev Shabbos. It has to be completely roasted before Shabbos comes in. No, that's not the case. But really, it should be mutter, that you should be allowed to leave these foods, even if they'll roast before Shabbos, the Shir Macham and Drusai. Because Beis Hillel can answer back, you're asking us for meat, which meat, really, you usually roast it completely before Shabbos. And you're asking against the ink. Ink, you don't usually soak the dyes before Shabbos comes in. You leave it during Shabbos to carry on. Now, Beis Hillel didn't answer that. Basically, there's no need that there's got to be time for these things to be roasted before Shabbos comes in. As long as they're roasted of Machal ben Drusai, that's good enough. So they agree. They're similar to other malachas where it's Machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, and then you can ask the question why the dinim are not the same. Okay. So Beis Hillel allow you to do a case where the dye is going to start colouring, right? And okay, let's carry on. Halacha Vav, yeah. The Shammai remain nice in Udin Shal Pishtan. Don't put pieces of flax which has been spun, the Tachatana, into the oven. They should whiten, become clean. You got enough time they should warm up before Shabbos. And don't put on a Friday like the wool to put in a big dyeing container to dye it. There must be enough time for it to catch the color before Shabbos comes in. Beis Hillel allow these things on Erev Shabbos. The Shammai say, now they hold you're allowed to have a kedera which has got this pishton which is spun in the oven or the wall. If there's enough time, it should catch the color, whatever it is. Mamis Hane, what's the point in this? That the thing warms up or it picks up the color before Shabbos. I mean, you're not allowed to do Malach on Erev Shabbos if you don't. It's not going to help before Shabbos. I mean, basically, it's still not good enough. I mean, it's not really worked. So these things are done for some people. There are villagers who don't care if the thing is completely white or not. Therefore, it's considered the malach has already started on Shabbos, and they do not forbid you to keep it working on Shabbos, because these people are happy with that stage that it's reached. Now, Beis Hillel will allow you to put the wool into the pot of dye before Shabbos. Rav Yehuda b'Shem Shmuel v'hu, providing that the pot, the Yera Kura, is going to be removed from the fire. And if it's fixed on the fire, then Asura, even Beis Hillel forbid it. Close to Shabbos. You'll worry it will burn, and the dye will get ruined. You'll end up adding water to it on Shabbos. Now, Beis Hillel allow you to start Malach on Erev Shabbos, even when it carries on Shabbos. Rav Shmuel v'Shem Rav Avo. Beis Hillel Yafin Melachas Heta. They learn the dinner of Heta, work starting on a Friday, min Melachas Isur, from work which starts on a Shabbos, which carries on after Shabbos. Elo Asa came by Shabbos. If you start doing a Malach which will finish after Shabbos, Shema Elo Asur, is it not forbidden? Of course, you can't start Malach on Shabbos, even if it will only finish after Shabbos. And similarly, Asa came by Yom. If you start Malacha on Friday for it to finish on Shabbos, mutter should be permitted. Because what determines everything is when you do your element of the Malacha, not the time when it sort of carries on. Okay? They bring the Eglei Tal, who says you start Malacha on Shabbos. Yeah, some hold if you start a Malacha on Shabbos itself, but it doesn't complete. Imagine you put the kettle on 2 minutes before Shabbos goes out. It's not going to boil till after Shabbos. Are you liable or not? It's machlekes with your chayv and Torah or not. Some say, well, you didn't achieve what you wanted to achieve on Shabbos. It didn't cook on Shabbos. Others say, well, you did what you're meant to do. You switched the kettle on. That's the process. So there's machlekes Eglei Tal, Rashash.
It might cook to third.
Well, in 2 minutes. Well, assuming 1 minute then. Okay, I'm talking about a case where you definitely know it's not reached that stage. It will only carry on. Some hold your chayev only will finish on Shabbos. That's minchas chinuch. Okay. Let's carry on. Where are we? Don't put out animal trap nets. Chayev overs v'dogim to catch wild animals, birds, fish. You can catch them beforehand. The Shammai say you got to have it. You got to have enough time to catch the animals before Shabbos comes in. How do you know what time you need to catch an animal? I mean, it brings us to you. Let's see. The Gemara says in Beitza, the nets for the chayas, ofas, and dogim. Don't take from them on Yom Tov, the animals. You catch an animal in there, and you don't know when did the animal get caught. Was it before Yom Tov, or was it on Yom Tov? So if you know it was caught beforehand, then you can have it. So unless you know it was caught mid-Baidia. Me and my dear, who's going to tell you? Right? How's he going to know? How do you know that's what happened? The Quran says, if the net got a bit ruined, then then probably the animal got caught in it beforehand from Erev Yom Tov. If not, even if it did get ruined, I mean, how do you know that they're caught? Maybe you shouldn't worry. Maybe the animals were caught on Yom Tov, and then they ruined the net. It's in, you put the net in a forest where there's many animals, and they'll get caught straight away. So as long as you've got no raya that was actually hunted on Yom Tov, you can assume it happened from before Yom Tov. Okay, and it could be also in our Mishnah that Beis Shammai allow putting out nets on Erev Shabbos if you've got time to catch the animals, if you do it in a place where all the animals are there, so they might easily be caught, right? So that's what happened. Now, from now we're bringing another sugya. We bring a raya that our Mishnah is talking about a case where you put the nets in the field, where there's animals there. We've learned in the Mishnah there, catching the fish, dagim. Now, dagim, usually you put the net where the fish are, right? That's where you put the net. So it's the same thing with the birds then that were caught together. You put the net. It means in the place where you'll find all these animals. Now, then we have a nachri. The Mishnah in Beitza actually says there was a guy who brought fish from Gamliel, and he said they're permitted on Yom Tov, but he said I don't want to accept it as a gift. The Machlokes there was zero shame Rav Safrin. Maybe they wanted to say Mutar Lamacha that really on Yom Tov itself we didn't want to take these fish because maybe they were hunted on Yom Tov for their muksa, but they're permitted to be carried. And you can receive it to eat the next day. Mutarin mamish, they can be permitted even to eat. Savrin meimo, these are Moraim held. Sveika, if you got a suffix, when was it mochan? Hitiru, it's completely permitted. Maybe this fish, which the Nachri brought, maybe it was hunted from Erev Yom Tov, and it was prepared for use on Yom Tov. Therefore, even it's permitted to be eaten. Now, other Moraim will argue about a suffix muksa. Suffix if it was prepared before Yom Tov or not. So suffix and muksa. Also, Rabbi Yochanan suffix achein is mutar. Rabbi Yochanan said it's permitted. Rabbi Chia Ruba and Rav Shimon Rebbe, they had an argument. Chadama once said, Hagai. Now, when Shabbos comes in, a guy has something. Is that considered mukhan for you? Tzarech achein. He says it's going to be mukhan to allow the Jews to use it on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Right, so a guy, it will be mukhan. So it does need to be mukhan even when the guy has it. The other one said, no, it's just a guy, when Yom Tov comes in, doesn't need achana. And you can use it on Shabbos and Yom Tov even if it wasn't mukhan from before, from Bod Yom. We don't know who said what. Because of the story where Rav delayed to come to Rav Chia God on Yom Tov, and Rav came to him and Rav Chia said, where were you? He said, a caravan of Nachrim was going past. I would eat the figs. Now Rav should have been worried. Maybe the figs weren't cut by Erev Yom Tov and they're asked to be eaten on Yom Tov. How did he eat from it? It must be his intention was that even if they're not prepared, mukhan, they are permitted to be eaten. Those things which are Rishus Nachri don't need hachana. However, he was the one, Ruchia was the one who said that ena goes hachachen. You don't need hachana with regard to a guy owning something. Chad Tamid, Midrav Simai, one Tamid of Simai, Azal le'an Tibiris, he went to a place on Tibiris, V'aisalei, and they brought him Damaskina. Damaskina? Is it plums of some kind? Shazif is what? Apricot plums? V'achal, and he ate. Chad Tamid and Rabbi Shimon Levi, Azal Taman, he also went to V'aisalei Damaskina, V'layachal, he wouldn't have these fruits. He was worried they weren't cut from Erev Yom Tov. And after the Talmud of Shimon Levi said in front of his teacher, and he was wondering about the Talmud of Simai, who ate them, wasn't worried they're not mochan. Amalei, Shimon Levi said to his Talmud, don't be worried about this, the Talmud. He's following the shit of Simai, his teacher of Simai. A guy does not need, you don't need to have special hachana. Right? If guy's in something's in the guy's rishus, when Shabbos comes in, it doesn't need hachana. So therefore, there's no isomuksa with these shazifim. Okay? Right. Rabavo, Shimshum Levi, Damania Shivakarem. These are grapes which are not fully ripened, and then you find them detached on Yom Tov. Hare'elu Asur, they're forbidden. Rav Huna Shem Rab, Sheitzim Shivakapayim. These are dates which are found detached within the thorns that grow at the bottom of the date palm, or they're found in kippim, which are like containers of the date palm, the bottom bit. They're permitted, there's no problem because they are in these containers or these kippim, and they stay there a long time. Therefore, you assume that they fell down before Yom Tov came in. Okay, halacha ches, yeah. Don't sell an item to a guy on a Friday. I don't help him with his load on Friday. Don't do a load. Don't put a load on his shoulders. There's going to be enough time for the guy to reach where he needs to reach. Right, wherever the guy wants to reach to, he can reach there before Shabbos. Allow it. Shabbos say you got to give him enough time to get home. Where's Mokken Korb? Where's the Mokken Korb? These are two towns in Babel. Okay, it's the same thing here. Close place is like the distance between Chutra and Nahadar. Like we get like Shammai, what is the place, the nearest place that he has to reach? Some say you give a guy an item if he can reach Lebesa, he has to reach his house before Shabbos. Someone to say no, he has to reach the edge of his city before Shabbos comes in. Rabbi Kiva, he said, in order that he's got time to leave the doorway of the Beis Yisrael, right, of the person's house before it gets dark, and it will get dark while Shabbos will come in, while he's still in the Jewish house. What does this mean? There's going to be enough time. You can leave the entrance of the Jewish house. And we Kaddish Avayim, and then it'll be Nacht, as it were. It says here there'll be enough time to leave the Jewish home before Shabbos comes in, because they're worried if he won't manage, people will think he's the Yisrael Shliach, or they're worried that people will see that the Kinyan and Hava was done on Shabbos, and that's also Rabbanon. Okay, our Rabbi Yechon said this is the view of Rabbi Kiva the Brisa. Divrei Rabbi Yossi, who gave me his name, Rabbi Kiva bar Achriya, ad Rabbi Hillel. Rabbi Kiva is coming to explain the words of Beis Hillel. He's not arguing like the two earlier opinions brought in the Brisa. They were coming to explain Beis Shammai. Don't give food to a guy in order, the guy will take it from your house into the street. But if you gave the guy food, you gave a guy food and he thought you won't take him out, V'natal v'yatsa, right? And in the end, the guy took it and went out. You're not bothered. And don't give it to a dog. The dog is going to leave the area. Not so the dog went and took it. You're not bothered. Tane, we've learned these craftsmen who were doing malach on Shabbos with Klal Yisrael, with a Jewish person, for the sake of a Jewish person. But based in Israel, are we in the Jewish home? Also, they can't do the malach. The Goyish house is permitted. When is that? When the job is paid for in full. When it's a daily wage, also, you're not allowed to do the malach on Shabbos, even in his house, because it's becoming to be for the sake of Israel. When you say you hire a guy that's become lonos, and you're allowed to, the guy's allowed to do it in his own home, when the malach is done, when it's detached from the ground, also, if it's connected to the ground, it is forbidden. Yeah. When you have these builders, you're not allowed to get the builders to work for you on Shabbos, right? It's connected to the ground. But if the person's doing the work in another town where there's no Jewish people around, then begach mutter, then it's permitted. Right? Okay? As long as the one who sees it doesn't know that he's doing it for a Jewish person. Mao begach. What do you mean begach? Is it bein? A malacha that's done b'talish, that's detached. Bein b'mechuba, all connected to the ground. Bein b'sachir, whether the worker is a worker. Bein b'kiboiles, or he agreed a kaplonos figure. Rabbi said, bein b'talish, bein b'mechuba. Both of them. Vavad, providing that the guy received the malacha b'kiboiles in kiboiles. Basically, the use is only when it's noticeable he's doing it for Israel. When he lives in another town, it's not noticeable. If it's chiyom, then it's forbidden to do the malacha, even when it's not noticeable it's being done for the sake of Israel. Okay. Right. Rav Shimon Bar Kana, B'Shem Rav Acha. Malacha of a guy that's done b'Shabbos, over Avel, or during a period of mourning, when he's not allowed to get any benefit from work. Of Avodah Zorah, a Jew who's doing malacha for a guy on his festival. Halacha of Shimon Elazar, halachas like it. There's a difference between a schiyayim and a kablan. And a kablan, there are cases where he's got a din like a schiyayim. Right? Okay. Don't start sending letters in the hands of a guy. I mean, nowadays the Royal Mail is the Queen's Mail. It's not considered your mail. Once it goes in the box, you can't ask for it back. It's the Queen's Mail, the King's Mail. So you don't send it on a Friday or a Thursday. Yerushalmi forbid it even on Wednesday. Yerushalmi allows it on Wednesday. His letters were never in non-Jewish hands. Don't start going out to sea, to the big sea. Not Friday or Thursday. Forbid it even on the fourth day. However, if it was Davar Shal Sakana, well, you'll have to go away for a danger. You can go in Mitzvah and Tzayda on a short distance between Tzor and Tzayda. It's only a one-day journey. Most of that is permitted, even on a Friday. Don't start besieging a town within 3 days of Shabbos. That's Melachas Rishus. But Melachas Chayva, if it's a chiyuv to do this war, then I feel with Shabbos, even Shabbos you can do it. We find with the wars of Yeshua, Yericho was conquered on Shabbos. The Chsiv says, remember they say they go around the city 6 times, and on the 7th day of Yom HaShrita, you surround the city 7 times, and then it says the Aaron went out, so they did 6 days, and it was on the 7th day, and they encircled the town 7 times, and the walls fell down, right? And then the people went to the city, they conquered the city. So it's telling you the day that Yericho was conquered was a Shabbos, but that was the 7th day of the week. So you see that you're allowed to start doing malacha of chayva, malachas chayva, even on Shabbos. It says when you besiege a city, ad ridata, that you're doing work until you conquer it. Ad ridata tells you if they started besieging a city before Shabbos, you're allowed to carry on even on Shabbos. They do ask from here, so we say, well, if you start beforehand, it's okay. But what will happen with Yericho here? They went round for 6 days, 1 day each. They went round once, every day for 6 days, and then the last day they went down more, right? So here, and where do you see from Milchama that you're allowed to conquer, even on Shabbos? Yericho, it started 6 days before. Maybe that's when you're permitted. So some say the surrounding that was done for the 6 days wasn't an action of war. Therefore, it's not considered a milchama. Okay? Fine. Don't give skins to a tanner, clothes to a non-Jewish washerman. There's be enough time to tan the skins before Shabbos. But and all of them, they allow you to do it while the sun's shining. We used to have a custom nogan beis habash and nosing kleilaban shalahan. They would give their white clothes to koves nachri to koves nachri shlosh yomim kodim Shabbos 3 days before. Because it's harder to wash, and you need to wash it 3 days. So they were machmir, right? It's not to give kalim to the washerman unless there's enough time to wash it before Shabbos. The Shabbos still agrees. Should turn in bekoretz to beis habad that you can take these beams of a press, setting everything up on the olives, with igule agas, and the other parts of the gas on the grapes, close to Shabbos coming in, even though it's going to carry on getting squeezed as Shabbos goes on. Okay? You've got to make sure there's enough time for it to be done beforehand. What's the zman that you need to tan this skin? And then you can give the guy the skins. If it fits in, he said elsewhere, the shear's man for tanning skins, the time it takes for a person to walk a distance of 4 mil. So here as well, According to Beis Shammai, you're allowed to give the skins to a tanner, a goyish tanner, if there's enough time, to walk 4 mil. Then he can start doing with it before Shabbos comes in. Okay? Now, Beis Hillel allow you to give your clothes to a washerman on Erev Shabbos, even if there's not enough time to wash it b'Bod Yom. Now, how should a Jew do when the washing on Shabbos? You give, let's say, you gave your clothes to a non-Jewish washerman, and you find that he's washing it by Shabbos. Then the din is also you can't wear it that Shabbos. I'm Yehudan. Tell him not to do it. I'm Yehudan. Avoid Reb Matanya. Harder tema. That which you say that you have to command the guy to stop. That's if the guy's doing it, but Tevas Hanaya, just to pay you back. So you do a teva, he does a teva for you. If, however, then he never arranged a price for his work. Ava Basachir. If the guy is doing the work just for his own wage, then the Jew doesn't have to object with the guy when he does it on Shabbos, because he's just doing his own work for his own purpose. It's not for the Jewish person's purpose. We had a custom, we would give white clothes to the washerman 3 days before Shabbos. That's all very well with the white clothes. They didn't do it with colours. We've learned the white ones are harder to clean than the coloured ones. They agree you can put the Keres Beis Abad in place and the olive press. The reason why everyone agrees you can start malach of squeezing on Erev Shabbos and they carry on. They both said that when Beis Shammai agree you can finish off the squeezing on Shabbos because every drop of oil has already moved from its place. It's going to be squeezed from its place before Shabbos. Any malach already started on Erev Shabbos. Beis Shammai agree it can carry on Shabbos. Now, what about these the things in the olive press, all right, and the schita and the squeezing over there? Now, Rav Acha Omar, Rabbi Yosef, Rav Chanina, he asked, now what about these beams in the olive press? Ma'o liga b'moshech. Are you allowed to touch the liquids that are coming out on Shabbos? Is it like osa b'hano, and therefore it's muksa? Or maybe they're liquids which have been squeezed on Erev Shabbos. Maybe you're allowed to get benefit on Shabbos. Well, therefore you're definitely allowed to touch it. Rabbanan de Kishin, they said it's part of the machlokes Rav Yochanan, Rav Yosef Chanina. Rav Yochanan Amar also, he said it is forbidden because these are like liquids that have come out on Shabbos. Rav Yosef Chanina Amar Muta, he said they're permitted. Masnisa pliga Rav Yosef Chanina. We have a question on him, but we got a price. It says V'shavin, V'shambe still agree shaliga b'moshech. Although you're allowed to put the beam in place on these olives before Shabbos comes in, nevertheless you're not allowed to touch the liquids that get squeezed out. Okay. Right. How are we doing? I think we'll stop here today, I say, yeah?